everyone. My name is Ukonu Obasi, and today we're talking about confidence. This workshop will um, give you some understanding of the meaning of confidence. We'll also understand what confidence is not. I think that's very important so that you clear these misconceptions about confidence. Also appreciate the role that confidence will play in your work, in your life, and understand how you can develop and apply confidence in your life activities. Right, so let's just start off by looking at what confidence isn't. Confidence isn't arrogance. Arrogance is a feeling of superiority over other people. That's not what confidence is. Okay? So when you see people who feel that they're better than other people, or they feel that other people are less than they are, that is not what confidence is. Confidence is not stubbornness. Holding on to an idea even in the face of clear rational evidence to the contrary isn't what confidence is. So when someone persists in an idea, even when the evidence tells them otherwise, they're just being stubborn. That's not confidence. So I think we should get that clear. Confidence is not blind faith. So when you have a belief in an ability without any basis in reality. So when people have beliefs that are not based on anything real or tangible, that is just blind faith. That is not confidence. And confidence is not a know-it-all attitude. When someone believes that they have all the answers, they know everything, they're all wise, all knowing, that is not what confidence is. Okay, so now we've sorted out what confidence isn't. What's the definition of confidence? The psychological definition says confidence is described as a belief in oneself and one's abilities to succeed. Confidence, the word confidere, originates from a Latin word which means to be sure, to believe in, or to have full trust. So it describes the extent to which a person believes they can handle the world. Cambridge Dictionary describes confidence as the quality of being certain of your abilities or of having trust in people, plans, or the future. Oxford Dictionary says it's a feeling of self-assurance arising from an appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. Webster Dictionary describes it as a feeling or belief that you can do something well or succeed at something. Now, what runs across all of these is it comes down to your belief, what you believe in. And the belief is in you, the belief of yourself, the belief of your ability. That is what confidence is. You have to, it stems from a belief in what you can do and what you can achieve and how you can cope and how you can manage. That is what confidence is all about. Now, there are two types of confidence: general self-confidence and specific self-confidence. General self-confidence is the self-confidence that you have when you've gone through life and you've experienced things, you've encountered things, and you've come through to the other side. So you have that belief that other experiences or other situations that you encounter, you will also come through to the other side. So it's just the kind of confidence that you get from experiences, general life experiences. Specific self-confidence is that belief in the ability to complete specific tasks. So when you have confidence in your ability to do something specific, either it's a skill or an exercise, an activity, a specific activity, but that comes with practice. So you've developed that confidence when you've made preparations, you've had training, or you have experience in that specific task. So that is what specific self-confidence means. So there are two types: general self-confidence, which comes from experience of life, and specific self-confidence, which comes from preparation and practice and experience of specific tasks. Now, a bit about me. I was a timid child when I was young. That's not me, by the way. But I was a very timid child growing up. I used to spend a lot of time alone playing with improvised toys. And I was bullied for this. You know, I was bullied as a young child. But I soon realized that I could stand up for myself, and that the people who were bullying me were no different from me. They were just about the same age as I was. They had the same abilities that I had. So it was just a question of my beliefs. And I was then fortunate to have joined the Boy Scouts. I became a Boy Scout. Again, that's not me. And I came to realize a lot of leadership abilities that I had. Going on to university, by the time I was in secondary school, before then I did a bit of martial arts and karate, and had some confidence in my ability to stand up to myself and against my bullies. And by the time I was in university, I did a bit of theatre. Again, that's not me. I grew in confidence. I could present to people. I could stand in an audience and talk to a wide group of people. So I developed those confidence. And this is me speaking at a Lib Dem conference. I've stood for Parliament and stood for local council. I've spoken at conferences and other events. Interestingly, if you notice this guy snapping away, this is the product of his work. So that's me at a Lib Dem autumn conference, speaking on emotion. And I've come out from that point where, as a timid child who used to play alone with toys, to someone who is confident enough to stand and speak to thousands of people, and even to appear on the brochure, the Lib Dem conference brochure with Savins Cable. So that's a bit about me. The point of that little background is to show you that confidence is learned. It is something that you learn, you develop it. It's like a skill like any other skill. It doesn't come automatically, and you have to grow it, you have to develop it. And to do that, you need to understand what are the things that take away your confidence. And that's what we're going to look at. What takes away your confidence? So we've identified 9 things that takes away confidence. First is thinking about they, people that bring you down, not eating and drinking properly, I give up mentality, fear, your inner voice, stress and pressure, trying to achieve other people's definition of happiness, not asking for help. Now, we are going to explain each of these steps, so we'll just go through them one after the other. Now, the first one, thinking about they. Now, many of us tend to worry about what strangers think about us. People who have no contribution in our lives, but we worry so much about what they think or what they feel about us. You see it in your society, you see it in the workplace, you see it on social media especially, where we don't do things that we want to do because of what we believe other people will think. Now, instead of thinking about what people uh, who do not matter to you would think, look at inspirational figures, read about them, listen to their stories. Every inspirational figure in the world had some obstacle. I mean, think about any person who's achieved anything great in the world, be it in the sciences, be it in literature, be it in J.K. Rowling's was refused 12 times before a publisher published the Harry Potter novels. Abraham Lincoln lost elections 9 times before he eventually won to become president of the United States. The obstacles that Nelson Mandela faced, being imprisoned for 27 years before he was released and helped South Africa overcome apartheid. And all these people faced obstacles. They didn't worry about what other people thought. They simply believed in what was right and what they believed they could do. They believed in their own ability. So my advice is, don't worry about people who don't matter to you. Think about what is right, what you want to do, what you can do, and realize that every person who ever achieved anything had to face some obstacle. You have to be prepared to overcome these obstacles. As I said, when people oppose you, then it means that you're moving. To make progress, you have to move. Progress only comes with movement, and with movement, there is resistance. It's a law of physics. If you're moving, there's going to be resistance. So just keep moving and don't worry about the resistance. That is just evidence that you're making progress. People who bring you down. Now, there are various reasons people will bring you down. One is their own failure, so they do not want to see others succeed where they themselves have failed. Low self-esteem, so they have low self-esteem and want to make themselves feel better by making someone else feel worse. Poor choices, so they have made poor choices and they don't want to be the only person who's made poor choices, so they also want to encourage other people to make those poor choices. As sometimes you hear the saying that misery likes company. And sometimes they're just miserable people in the world. You can't help that. So, what do? What should you do? Change the subject when you can. So when someone is trying to put you down, change the subject if you can, because most of these times they're not being constructive, they're not bringing anything new or valuable. They're not giving you any input, anything you can use. They're just putting you down. And I'm not talking about people with constructive criticism. I'm talking about people who just put you down, always fault-finding and never about improving you or making you better. So listen if it is specific and ask if they can help. So try to find out how they can help. So throw it back to them. If they've got something to say or something they find that is a problem, ask them how they can help. How can they help you improve? So if they're being constructive, then they would help you come up with a solution. And if they're not, then obviously that's someone you might need to think about avoiding. Avoid argument, as it only draws you in. Imagine having an argument with someone who isn't being constructive, is not going to change their views. You're just going to get drawn into that, and it's just going to suck you even more and waste your time and create a lot of negativity, which you don't want. Sometimes you should just reduce contact. avoid negative people, avoid people who put you down. If they're not bringing you anything positive, then you might consider, reducing contact or cut them off completely if possible, because these people are not going to help boost your confidence. Now, not eating and drinking properly, that's actually very important. Your nutrition is very important to your confidence. It's your nutrition affects your mood. It affects your body function. So you need to keep healthy, have a healthy diet, and make sure that you're hydrated. So make sure you're drinking water properly, and a nutrient-packed diet will reduce anxiety, boost your mood, and in return help you to feel more confident. So when you're eating healthily, you're hydrated, you feel good, and when you feel good, you're more likely to be confident. Also make sure that you eat mood-boosting foods such as complex carbohydrates for slow release energy, foods such as vitamin D's, vitamin B's, and selenium all help to boost your mood, and as well as food that are high in omega-3 fatty acids such as oily fish. So these things help to boost your mood. Avoid unhealthy food, and eat more healthy food, and drink lots of water when you need. Those keep you hydrated, and when you feel good, you're likely to be more confident. The I give up mentality. Now, the I give up mentality is when someone easily gives up on whatever it is they're pursuing, whatever it is their goals are, whatever it is their aspirations are. If you believe in something, you have to be persistent. You have to keep trying. As I said earlier, if J.K. Rowling had given up in the first criticisms she had, the first rejection, if she had given up after 3 rejections, 4 rejections, 5 rejections, 10 rejections, we might not have seen Harry Potter, but she kept on going. If Abraham Lincoln had given up on his political aspirations after he lost the first election, second election, third, fourth, fifth, he might not have been one of the greatest presidents of the United States. There are stories and stories and stories of people who made it, but because they persisted. There's a saying I like so much, that no one knows how many overnights that an overnight success has endured. You have to have gone through so many struggles in order to get to where you are. So do not have a give-up mentality. So to do that, reject helplessness. So a lot of times the mentality to give up comes from the notion that you are helpless, that you can't do anything, that the situation is beyond your powers, that you have the inability to change your circumstance. So reject that idea. Every person has a part that they can play. If you can't do anything, someone you know can do something, and if someone you know can't do something, someone they know can do something, there's always a way out. You just need to figure it out and find who can help you. Change your perception. Sometimes problems seem so difficult just from the way you look at it. If someone gave you a task that is huge, but if you broke it down into tiny chunks, it would look smaller and more possible. But because you perceive it as huge, you feel that you can't do it, and then you give up. But if you break it down into smaller chunks, then it's easier to do, and it seems more feasible. And then of course the last thing, as I said, be persistent. Try and try and try again. Anything you want to change, you have to be persistent. Um, Trying something means sometimes you need to change it. You need to find another option. You need to do it a different way. But make sure that once you believe in the right thing to do or a goal you want to achieve, don't give up on it. Just persist. And that persistence means you succeed. No one ever makes it the first time round. It never works the first time round. All the inventors who created the things that we know today, that we see today, the light bulb, all the inventions we have, they went through time and time of failures before that light bulb moment. So, reject helplessness. Don't give up. Change your perception. Be the half full person. See the glass as half full rather than half empty. And be persistent. It might seem like it's a struggle to roll things up the hill. It seems like you're pushing against so many obstacles, but keep pushing. You will get to the top. The other thing that takes away our confidence is fear. So fear is the feeling of perceived danger. So this danger could be real or imagined. Fear sometimes can be a good thing. As a human being, fear is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a survival skill. You need to be able to make an assessment of your situation and determine if this is a situation that is at risk, that puts you at risk, and determine if it's time to fight or fly away or run. So it is an important survival method, but when we're talking about fear in this sense, we're talking about the fear of failure and the perceived consequence of that failure. So when people think, oh, I won't do this because I'm afraid it won't work, and if it doesn't work, everyone's going to laugh at me, I'm going to be embarrassed, oh, terrible, I'm not going to do it. We're talking about that fear of failure that stops you from even trying. Sometimes trying is good enough, and once you try, you get better, and you try again. If you're persistent, you get even better until you succeed. Do not be afraid of failure. Failure, as I said earlier, is only possible when you stop. You only fail when you're giving up. If you don't give up, you haven't failed. So fear of failure shouldn't be an option if you're not ready to give up, because you just keep trying until you succeed. But funny enough, sometimes people are also fear of being successful and the consequences of that. So, you have sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to put myself forward. What if they said yes? What if they actually allow me to do it? Then I have to do it. And then I have to be in charge. And then I have to do the presentation. Then I have to be the manager. I don't want all that responsibility. Again, it's about recognizing that if this is what you want to do, you have to embrace it boldly and accept that this is what you want to do. So, think about those things that you are afraid of. Think about those things that you believe actually frightens you. Think about it up till whatever sequence it is. If you want to do something, what will be the outcome? Is that an outcome that you're afraid of? If it's not, then you have to go for it. If it's something that you are, then find out why you're afraid of it, and still think about the consequences of not being afraid and what the next outcome is. There's always chance to learn who you are and what you want and to fight that fear. It's all about removing the fear, because being afraid is a big barrier to confidence. It's a big barrier to doing the things you want. So, do not let fear dominate you to the point of inaction. So most of the time our fear is not even real. So it's simply based on perceptions, so of things we have in our head. We know that fear is, is things in our own thoughts. So when we start to see things differently, the fear becomes less. If we start to change the way we think, then the fear is gone. I remember when I was younger, we all used to be scared of dogs and dogs barking. And if you saw a dog, even if the dog wasn't barking at all, you were afraid of it because you knew it was potentially could bark and potentially could attack you. But now, I'm not afraid of dogs. You just see dogs, you rub it, and even if it barks, you're just looking at it because you're not afraid. So it's changing that perception. Once you change the perception, the fear goes away. I like this acronym. Fear means face everything and rise. Fighting those inner voices. Now, our subconscious, those inner voices, they don't distinguish between fact and fiction. So, if your inner voice is telling you something, it's not always telling you something that's real. So don't always believe the inner voice because it's not always telling you something that's real. It doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. And sometimes, again, your inner voice will tell you something, inflate your ego. So again, you have to know what is real, what is possible, and match your action based on what is real and what is possible, not on what your inner voice is saying. You can have your inner voice tell you, I'm a Superman and I can jump from a 10-foot story building. That is not a good idea. Okay, that is not confidence. You'll break your leg. So know what is real. Match your actions with what is realistic. But it's also important to make positive affirmations. It makes a big difference. Tell yourself, look at the positive things that you've done. Recognize your own achievements. And once you do that, you start to quiet that inner voice that is always filled with doubt and negativity. Once you can start to reinforce some of the good things that you've done, some things you may not consider necessarily a big achievement. As a lecturer, one of the things I tell my students is that you guys, them in the room, they've already taken a head start because they are in the room in a university when other people have chosen not to be. They are already in class when other people have chosen not to be. So at least in that regard, they've already started to make a step forward. So always remind yourself of the positive. Always remind yourself of the good. Positive affirmation is very important in building your confidence. Pressure and stress. Now, there are key sources of stress: demands, control, support, relationships, role, and change. So in life, we're constantly worried about our work, our money, family, relationships, and all of that. And these release cortisol and adrenaline, and if you're not coping properly with it, that could actually make you unwell if it gets to a very unmanageable level. Now, when you're stressed, you need to sort of dial back and ask yourself these questions. Do you have too much to deal with? If you do, leave some. Okay? Do you have sufficient control over what you do? If you don't have sufficient control over what you do, leave the things you can't control and deal with those ones you can control. And if you require more control, then ask for more control. Do you have enough support to achieve the goals that are required of you? Make sure you have support. Don't feel you have to do everything on your own. Sometimes you just need to ask for support. People might assume that you have the ability to do it on your own. But if you don't feel that way, ask for support. Don't feel that you can do it on your own. Do you understand the roles and responsibilities? Now, a lot of people are stressed by when they're asked to do something and they don't actually know what they are meant to do. Ask for clarity. Get people to explain what it is you're meant to do, how. If you need training, get that training. If you need someone to show you, get someone to show you. Don't be afraid to ask, because you just stress yourself if you don't know what you're doing. If you feel you don't know what you're doing, then you're not going to be confident doing it. How can I manage change? Now, change is something that is constant in life. We all experience change all the time. We experience change on a daily basis, from the morning to afternoon to the evening and night. And we experience change in the weather, we experience change in our workplace, we experience change in our family, and all the rest of it. Change is constant, and we have to be able to cope with it. We have to be able to deal with it. And it's about understanding that change is a normal thing. It's not an extraordinary thing. It is a normal process of life. So you embrace it, you learn from it, and you take it in and use it to your own advantage. So these are things you just need to ask yourself. It's like a stress audit. You ask yourself these questions, and your answer should help you manage your stress better. Trying to achieve other people's definition of happiness. Yeah, now that's a good one. Happiness is unique to everyone. So we, as individuals, know what makes us happy. And happiness is personal to us. For some people, it could be their family. For some people, it could be their career. So for some people, it could be the volunteer work they do. Some people, it could be their spiritual experience. Different things. For different people, happiness and what makes them happy is totally different. Now, one of the things that really knocks people's confidence